Hi everyone, so today I'm going to do another first impressions video, and today it's on the Lorac Pro Metals palette. I'm going to swatch them for you and also do kind of like a mini tutorial using these eyeshadows and letting you know what I think about them. So the first thing I noticed about this palette is that it has different packaging. I will go get my Pro Matte palette and I'll show you and compare it to that one. So this is the Lorac Pro Matte palette and this is the Metals palette. So you can see the packaging is different, and the Pro Matte palette is the same packaging as the original Lorac Pro palette. And so online I didn't see that that was the difference, but when I saw it now, then I saw that it was more of like a metallic mirror-like packaging. I don't know how else to explain it. And so when you look inside, this is what you see, the mirror that is in all of the palettes. And then as you can tell, all of the eyeshadows are shimmery eyeshadows. They're all supposed to be metallic. I haven't swatched any of these. There's a little dent in this one, but I haven't swatched any of them. So I'm going to swatch them and then I'm going to show you what they look like on my hand. And I'm not going to put any primer or anything like that on my hand or anything. I'm just going to swatch them on my hand, just plain without anything on it. So these are all the swatches. I swatched them the same as they are up top. So I will try to zoom it in a little bit more so that you can actually see. So this is how they looked swatched. I think the one that was the hardest to work with was the cobalt shade. As you can see, the swatch is not quite as pretty and pigmented as the other ones, but I think it would be I think you'd be able to work with it still. What I love in this palette is that there is a black shimmery shade. Usually you just get a matte black shade in every palette that you get, so it's kind of cool to have a shimmery black shade that you could use on the outer corner to darken up the whole look and everything. So Quartz is the first one, and it's kind of a creamy white shade. In the palette it looks a little bit more yellow than it does swatched, or I guess in the camera they look similar. But that's a really nice creamy shade. And then the next one is called Rose Gold, which I think is very pretty and it's swatched very nicely. It would be a very good color to Rose Gold would be a very good color to put all over the lid. And then the next shade, Graphite, which I really love. I think that's a very pretty color, and that's kind of a olive-y shade, a darker olive shade. And then the one next to it, which is Onyx, which is the shimmery black shade. And then here at the bottom, that one is the shade called Gilded. And I think it's kind of a yellowy gold shade. It's not as bright as some of gold shades that I have, but it's absolutely pretty and would be gorgeous on the eyelid. And then this next one here is called Amber, which is kind of a bronzier shade. And then you have Clover here on the side, which is a very pretty green shimmery shade, and then Cobalt here at the end, which is obviously a cobalt blue shade. So I love all of these colors and they all swatched very well, apart from the Cobalt shade, which is a little bit harder to work with. But I think if you use if you wanted to use it on your lid and you use like some kind of cream base or something like that, it would stick very well, and I think it would be very bright and pretty. Or using a smaller, finer brush on your lower lash line would be very pretty as well. So I think these are very similar to all the other Lorac Pro Matte shades, like the Pro Matte palette, which I love and use a lot. I like to use this one alone if I do like more simple looks, but I would use this one a lot using like these top shades here, or these ones here, I guess, as transition shades. This is a very good highlight shade and stuff like that. They're all very usable, so I think these two together would make the perfect pair for crease shades and stuff like that, so they work very well together. And I think the formula of these is the same as all of the other Lorac Pro eyeshadows. What I've noticed from all of them is that some of them are a little bit powdery and have a little bit of fallout. Like I noticed some of these, swatching them, like the graphite shade would probably have a little bit of fallout because it's a little bit powderier, but they are all very pigmented and work well to blend out and everything. So I'm going to do a little bit of a makeup tutorial, or I'm going to try out these eyeshadows on my eyelid. That's why my face is all done apart from my eyeshadow and my mascara and all of that. So I'm going to zoom you in and I'm going to show you a little bit of a makeup tutorial, or try out these eyeshadows on my eyelid and see how they wear. All that I have done to my eyelids is I put foundation, or not foundation, I've put concealer on top of my eyelids and a powder to set that in place, just to cancel out the redness and the veins on my eyelid, which this is what I do with all of my eyeshadows. So, or yeah, before I do all of my eyeshadows, so that's what I did today. So I'm going to zoom you in and then I'm going to start using these eyeshadows on my eyelid. So like I said before, these do not have any matte shades in them, so I think I'm going to take the latte shade out of my Lorac Pro Matte palette, and I'm going to use that as my transition shade. Most of the eyeshadows that I want to use today are going to be from the Metals palette, but for my crease I'm going to use a matte shade because that's what I usually do for my eyeshadow. So I'm just going to take Latte and put that into my crease, just so that I have a good transition color. Alright, so now that I have that, I think I want to play around with the Clover shade on my eyelid, and that is the green one here at the bottom. I want to see how this looks for green eyes, so I'm going to try that eyeshadow out. And I'm just going to take a flat shading brush, just one like this. This is just an e.l.f. shader brush, so I'm going to take that on that brush. Oops, got some of that in my crease. Just blend that away with that brush. I really like how I really like how pigmented this color is. I think it's a very wearable green shade, and it would look very pretty for in the fall. As you can see, I just took a little bit on my brush and it's very pigmented. And then I'm going to take some of the graphite shade, which is the shade up here. And I'm going to take that on my outer corner and my outer crease area to darken that up. And I'm just going to take a smaller blending brush like this with that color. And I'm going to drag it into the crease, kind of blending it into the inner crease and inner corner. I'm going to blend that harsh edge out yet. I'm just going to do the other side first. And then I'm just going to take that blending brush that I used before to put down the crease shade and just kind of blend out that color that I placed there. As you can see, these colors blend out pretty easily. And I'm going to take an angled brush like this, and I'm going to take just a tiny bit of that black shade, which the name is called Onyx. So I'm going to take just a little bit on that brush and use that to darken up the outer corner a little bit more. And with these colors, I usually just dab them onto my outer corner. That way there's a little bit less fallout. And I feel like shimmery black shades are easier to blend out than matte ones. Matte ones are a bit harder to blend out. So as you can see, I won't need to do very much blending with that color on the outer corner. And I'm just going to take that smaller blending brush and use that to blend that out. And for my highlight, since I have more shimmery shades on my eyelid and stuff, I think I'm just going to take the matte shade, the linen shade, out of my Pro Matte palette. If I'm doing a matte eye look, then I like to do shimmery highlight on my brow bone, but since I have a lot of shimmer in my crease and stuff already, then I'm just going to do a matte highlight shade. And this kind of fluffier brush helps to blend out the crease here as well, that highlight shade. And then for my lower lash line, I think I want to use the Cobalt shade and use that as like the outer liner. So I'm going to take a very small detailer brush like this, and I'm just going to take that on there and get as close to my lower lashes as possible. And then I'm going to take that little blender brush that I used before and blend that out. Using that eyeshadow shade on my lower lash line actually worked really well, and it blends out really well. And then for my inner corner highlight, I'm going to take the Quartz shade, this shade right here, and I'm going to use a pencil brush like this. And I'm just going to pop that into the inner corner, which that one is definitely very pigmented. And I think I want something a little bit brighter in the middle of my eyelid, so I'm going to take that Gilded shade, that's the shade right here. I'm just going to take it with my pointer finger and press in a little bit so that I get that, and just press it onto the middle of my eyelid, just to give the look a little bit more dimension and a little bit more brightness. And I just use my fingers to blend that into the other shades. And I think that's all for the eyeshadow that I'm going to use. I'm going to curl my eyelashes and do my eyeliner, and then I'll be right back. I forgot to mention it in the video, but I did use a big powder brush to wipe away the fallout that I had underneath my eyes. Alright, so I just finished up my eyeliner and mascara, and I really like the overall look that I got out of this palette. I usually get a little bit of that shimmery stuff from my eyelid on top into my crease, but that's because I have hooded eyes. So that's the only thing that I can see that transfers pretty much right away. But I do love the colors, and I love the little pop of blue that it gives on my lower lash line. I absolutely love that shade. It worked out better to blend out and use on my eyes as on my hand. Here it looks a little bit patchy, so it worked a lot better on my actual eyes and blending it out and everything. So I really like the overall palette and the eyeshadows it has in their pigmentation, so I would totally recommend this to everybody, or especially to everybody who likes shimmery shades. I love these, and you'd be able to do a lot of different looks with these, using different eyeshadows on your eyelids and using other eyeshadows on your lower lash line and stuff. I think you could get a lot of eyeshadow looks out of this palette, but I do think you would need a different palette to go along with it, so you had some matte shades, because a whole shimmery eyeshadow look is not usually what I'm going for, but I think it's a very good palette, and you would get a lot of use out of it because it has very wearable shades. So I give this one a thumbs up, and I think it's a really good palette. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!